A week after sitting ringside where a fighter got knocked out and passed away 48 hours later, Conor McGregor, the UFC superstar, shocked the world yesterday with the following tweet. Let me read this to you. "I have decided to retire young. Thanks for the cheese. Catch yous later." UFC President Dana White joined SportsCenter yesterday and clarified what's going on from his side of the story. Stephen A., break this down for us. What's going on here?
Well, I think it's what Dana White said, and he and I spoke this morning because I needed clarification on a couple of things. And, you know, he just reiterated what he said to SportsCenter yesterday. You've got promotional obligations to promote this fight, and Conor McGregor didn't want to show up and fulfill it. However, he suspects that Conor McGregor is not serious about retiring, because if he were to retire, then what is it, Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar fighting one another for UFC 200?
Jose Aldo, yep.
They would be fighting for Conor McGregor's vacant title. And as of right now, that's not the case. Now, he's got until Friday to let him know if indeed you are retiring. That way it won't be, it would be, the Edgar Aldo fight would be for the belt. But I would say this, I like Conor McGregor. I appreciate Dana White calling him a stand-up guy, because I believe that he is. I think that he strikes me to be a very honest and stand-up kind of fighter. I do understand that there are some fighters that have a problem with some of the promotional obligations that Dana White wants them to do. Ronda Rousey, for example, lamented some of the things that she had to do, even though I'm not sure that's all UFC and Dana White, but some of the promotional obligations that she had to engage in before she lost to Holly Holmes. Nevertheless, I think that why I will always come to the defense of Dana White when it comes to issues like this is because of this reason and this reason only. Maybe not globally, but in the United States of America, as great of a sport as boxing is, and as much as I love it, even though I'm starving for a legitimate bona fide heavyweight champion, the reality is that boxing's popularity is compromised to some degree because promoters control the sport. And the fights that we want to see, when we want to see them, don't happen. Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather, perfect example. If you had a governing body overseeing the sport with some muscle, then you could have demanded that fight take place years earlier as opposed to years later when it did. That does not happen with Dana White and the UFC. When people tell the UFC, we want to see this match, Dana White usually makes it happen. And because of that is why, even though it's a pugilistic sport, it's very violent, we understand it, and if you're a fighter, those kind of, every little thing helps, and you don't need to be distracted in any way. This is what you signed up for. This is what comes with it. And again, Conor McGregor, stand-up guy. But I never heard of him having a problem with his promotional obligations when he was winning. You lose to Nate Diaz, you sign up for the rematch, and suddenly you don't want to deal with the promotional obligation. I'm just saying. I don't know if I can buy it. And I'm a fan of Conor McGregor. I really, really am. I love the guy. I love watching him fight. But in this particular instance, this is what comes with it, and you got to deal with that.
So how much do you believe he's actually retired?
I don't
Zero?
believe, me personally, guys like him, I can't believe it. Was he 27?
27.
I can't believe, and listen, and the loss to Nate Diaz, this dude, I mean, he moved up like 20 pounds or something like that to fight Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz walks around 170. I mean, Conor McGregor was at 145 and moved up to fight this guy, went in the ring bigger than he was, a little bit slower. Conor McGregor still gave him a hell of a fight before he lost. He's the real deal. I just believe that Conor McGregor, I don't believe he's going to retire. I really don't.
I don't either. This is my 2 cents from a distance. You're a much bigger fan. You're a much bigger fan or aficionado of the sport than I am.
She's aficionado. I'm just a fan.
I watch, and I'm intrigued by Conor McGregor beyond anyone else. And obviously, he's had the 3 biggest live gates that this sport has ever produced. So he's got some clout here. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I believe this is about the money, because it's almost always about the money. He's had some money issues with Dana White. I believe this is a flat-out power play in which Conor McGregor is challenging Dana White. And again, you know Dana White, and you know Dana White. I know him a little bit just from having him on the show. He's a great guy. He's fun to talk to. He's accessible. He'll take your call, return your call.
Yes, he will. All the time.
Because of that, his media relations are so strong that I think sometimes the media gives him a little bit of a pass, sometimes because he's able to run the sport as a veritable dictator. Is that too strong? I mean,
no,
he's the guy, man. He is judge, jury, and sort of figurative execution.
If anybody hates that, it's a fighter.
Yeah.
Because when you're in there risking life and limb, and you have to succumb to the wishes of somebody you think is dictating stuff to you, it appalls you. But I think it's also important to recognize this. First of all, you got reports out there with people alluding to Conor McGregor trying to hold out for more money. Dana White swears he's a stand-up guy. He's never tried to do that before. He's not trying to do it now. So I'll take him at his word, and that's fine. But the other side to it is this. Skip, even though Dana White may be somewhat of somewhat dictatorial to some degree, here's why I don't have a problem with it. Because you built this sport and you made it what it is.
Yeah, okay.
And on top of it all, you did so by giving the public what it wants. You modified it. It used to be far more barbaric to the point where Senator John McCain, who I spoke to personally about it at the time, I mean, he wanted this sport banished, okay? And so he came a long way. Other elected officials came a long way. The state of New York just approved having an MMA fight, and they're going to have one in Madison Square Garden or someplace soon enough. All I'm saying to you is, when you look at where the sport was to where it is, and this is the individual primarily responsible for its ascension. What he's doing is following the formula that assisted or facilitated its success. How can you fault him for that when you want to fight in this league because of it?
That is correct. He has been a very successful dictator. He has built this by ruling with an iron fist. It's been successful because of that. And obviously, promotional rules must be adhered to, followed, lived up to, clearly. But that's not the issue here. There's something bigger going on. Conor McGregor has decided he's bigger than Dana White. This is just my 2 cents, that he's got enough clout, enough power at this point that he can run a power play on the dictator. He can say, I'm bigger than you and I'm going to show you, so I retire.
Let me
thanks for the cheese, he says, right?
Again, I'm a huge huge fan of Conor McGregor. Because I think he brings it. And to me, when it comes to fighting, I think whatever edge works for you, whether it's talking smack, demoralizing people, getting inside, I think any edge that works for you is something you should utilize, because you're talking about a sport that has a license to assault you. Okay, but with that being said, Conor McGregor is in over his head if he thinks he can muscle Dana White. It's the wrong brother to do that to.
We'll see.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's the UFC. And if you are Dana White, you did what you needed to do to build this sport. Conor McGregor didn't have to come and fight in the UFC. He elected to do so because he was attracted to what Dana White built.
True.
And Dana White can't allow him. I'm not saying I know it because I don't know what's going on. But if what you're saying is true, Dana White can't allow that. I mean, John Bones Jones will sit right here. Let me tell you something right now, Skip. Conor McGregor is special.
But he's not this guy.
He ain't the brother that was sitting right here the other day. John Bones Jones is the real deal.
Okay, but you're talking about as a fighter,
I'm not
as an act almost, as a charismatic figure. This guy is beyond John.
This guy might be beyond John because he was taking people out, but the flip
just
side
because of his mouth. I mean, just he's a quote machine.
But he just got taken out.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
Just got taken out now.
Okay, but for once, Dana White has been challenged here, and it'll be very interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This is a milestone fight. My gut is this gets resolved and he fights. That's my gut.
Really?
You would know better than us.
Well, to Dana's credit, man, he stepped right up yesterday and said, he's out. We're going forward with whoever. You know, like, here we go.
See.
Yeah.
We'll see. To be continued. Coming up next, it's been a